This week on the Salesforce Admins podcast, we're thrilled to welcome back Mike Rose, a 12-year Salesforce veteran who has a new role and some fresh insights. Mike and I get into the real talk about what it's like supporting small to medium businesses, the ever-evolving role of the Salesforce admin, and how tools like Agentforce are really changing the game. Now, whether you're a full-time admin or you're wearing 5 hats in your org, this episode speaks your language. Mike also shares why now is the best time to roll up your sleeves and start exploring AI in your sandbox. So you've already hit play on this episode. Get ready to feel seen, and let's get Mike back on the podcast. So Mike, welcome back to the podcast.
It's such a pleasure, Michael. I have been, longtime listener and repeat caller, but very glad to be back after years.
I know. I feel like we used to do world tours and we'd run into each other like we need to do a podcast together. And then we would do a random podcast together. And then this last time I just saw you on Slack. I was like, I haven't had Mike on the podcast in a while.
It's true. And I actually said, yes, absolutely. Let's do it. And then I think it was a month of gap before I got back to you, and then you were on vacation. So I just said, this is one. By the way, folks, if you find yourselves running into the consequences of your own inaction, say in the middle of the night on a weekend, and you say, "Oh, I really should reach out to that person, but I don't want to do it right now because that's just awkward." Slack scheduled messages are your friend.
I'm telling you, I use Slack scheduled messages all the time, especially when I go on vacation.
Yeah,
I can schedule stuff, or the best is when you have a team that's in a different time zone.
Yes.
So we'll have a team. Let's see, when this airs, the London event will be happened, and I can schedule stuff, and it looks like I just schedule it right for 8 a.m. their time, but I'm off in sleepy land.
I have to say that I have one of my managers who reports up to me is on maternity leave right now, and she has set Harry Seldon Foundation style messages that pop up in Slack, and they say, "Hi, it's the ghost of Gab here to tell you," and it's hilarious, and it's great because it's all the reminders that otherwise I would have to remember to do, like do your T2 check-ins and do this. Yeah. But what's particularly funny is that because she branded it as the ghost of Gabrielle, the reaction emoji that people are using to respond to those messages is the face of Fred from Scooby-Doo reacting in terror to a ghost. And I didn't come up with this. One of her team members reacted that way. I was like, oh, no. This is it now. Like everybody has to react that way. It's so much fun to see these little like microculture moments that, build a custom or build a tradition around something as simple as an emoji response. But yes, scheduled messages, you can just sit down and like knock out a quarter's worth of admin if you're going to be out and do it all sort of pre-programmed. It's very handy.
I would say as a best practice, and I'm looking at a scheduled message that somebody had sent me over the weekend. They italicized, "Hey, by the way, this is a scheduled message."
Oh, that's really smart. Yeah. That's really smart.
Just in case, like you want to.
It's
not in the heat of the moment.
Well, it's also so awkward when like there's something that you've been working on with someone, and you say you set the scheduled message for 9 a.m. their time on a Monday, only to discover that at 7:30 a.m. they already gave you like the full rundown of everything you possibly could need, and then your message pops in. It's like, "Hey, just wondering if you had an update on Project X," and they're like, "Dude, what do you not read first?" So yeah, putting it in italics is I like that custom.
I also, I do a Friday message to the team and I schedule it for 1:00 my time. And like 12:55, somebody had an urgent message that they posted to the team. And they said, "In the spirit of the Friday message." And I was like, "Oh, my Friday message is going to appear in 5 minutes from now. And it's totally going to look like Mike forgot to send it."
Anyway. Can't win them all. Win them all.
You can't. Well, I'm sure Slack is something we'll talk about, but you have, I mean, we have a lot to talk about because there's Agentforce stuff now. You have people that report to you. You've always had people that report to you, but you're demoing to different customers. Where would you like to dive in first? Because otherwise we'll just go off the rails and end up talking about something in New York or soup. I don't know.
Soup would be good. Well, I could just start with on the perhaps bold assumption that previous listeners who might vaguely remember me having been here before might think, what did he used to do and what is he doing now?
I'm sure people track that.
I know. I actually have seen some of the Always Sunny in Philadelphia murder boards for this show, for the Admins podcast, and they're elaborate. There's a lot of community investment in understanding the connections. So, no, I've been at Salesforce 12 years. Celebrated my 12th anniversary a couple months ago. Very exciting!
Congrats!
Thank you. I also am delighted to report that my brother is also now back at Salesforce. He's boomeranged, so he was part of our solution engineering world for several years. Left to go take a role at Own Data or Own Backup,
and then we acquired them.
So now he is back, and so now we have sibling force back in effect, which I'm delighted by. And so last time I was on the program, I was managing a team of technical architects. So our pre-sales TAs are the successors of our platform solution engineering team. So these are folks who are working with customers, mostly working with the technology decision makers and technology leaders, IT leaders at customers to work on questions around security and data strategy and AI and app dev and customization and sort of getting into the cracks or the weeds in the customer 360. A lot of conversations around integration, and really with all the integration products and capabilities that we currently have and will Safe Harbor have in the future. The TA team has spent a lot of time working on Data Cloud and Agentforce as well. And that was what I've been doing for several years, 8 years, actually, I think. And then an opportunity came along last year, and I have now taken over a larger team of solution engineers, not technical architects, but core solution engineers, account solution engineers, working in a part of our SMB business. So this is a team of about 50 and with several different teams, geographies, and verticals within it. But basically, working with customers between about 50 and 250 employees in a subset of our industry's framework to help them understand what we can offer, do discovery, do demos, talk about AI, which it seems is what we're doing a lot of the time nowadays. And it's been a great transition for me. It's been really educational and informative to get closer to the customer again with some of the opportunities and some of the challenges that are out there nowadays.
Yeah. And the reason, first of all, I love talking to you because you're an incredibly smart human being.
Thank you.
But the second is your job is so closely aligned to everything admins do. It's like an aspect of their job. You just get paid to do essentially a sales role of admin stuff. But that's essentially what a Salesforce admin does in their organization is walk around and talk with executives and, let's see how we can use Salesforce in your area and everything you described.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is a partnership between the admins and the solution engineers that's really important. And that I think you highlighted very effectively, which is it's a shared responsibility of evangelism, sort of evangelism from the outside, evangelism from the inside. And the admins are those folks who are doing discovery, internal discovery, process assessment, understanding where is their pain, where is their organizational inefficiency. And I think for our small business admins, a lot of them are accidental admins. A lot of them are people who came into the Salesforce ecosystem sort of through the back door, not really with the awareness or intention of taking on that responsibility. And so they've had to learn very tactically. They've had to learn based on what was the problem in front of them at that moment. And when we arrive at those customers or come into those conversations, often the question is, not so much what should you be doing or what should you be doing better, but what are the things that haven't even been examined yet? And often it is around something like integration. I joke with customers that we see a lot of in our, particularly in our healthcare customers, we see a lot of PIOM, data integration models. And I'll bring that up, in the course of a conversation, just sort of let it simmer there for a minute. Mm-hmm. And sometimes someone will ask, sometimes they won't, but I was like, I should probably explain my acronyms. PIOM stands for Post-it on Monitor. And literally the way data gets into Salesforce is someone from the sales team goes over to the lead management person, Joanne, and leaves a Post-it on Joanne's monitor saying, please update this record. That's integration.
Or update this spreadsheet so that I can insert it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so that is an integration, driving the motion of data or added value on top of data through human intervention, through rekeying, through copy and paste, through let me look over your shoulder and key this in for me. That's all integration. It is taking data that exists usually in email or Excel or in somebody's brain or on a piece of paper and putting it someplace where it can be more valuable, where it can create a multiplier effect of visibility and actionability and observability and impacting the situational awareness for business leaders and for people on the front lines. Like all of that is value added for that data. But when we see those sort of pinch points and points of friction, usually it's because there wasn't enough perceived value to change it. Like it's working the way it is. Why should we change it? And usually the answer is it is working the way it is, but you don't understand or don't fully account for the opportunity cost of not having that happening automatically every time, like the errors and the lag, the latency of that data and all those other things. So yeah, that's just like one tiny corner of it, but it really is it really is common, especially with smaller customers, to just see largely a great Salesforce implementation and everything working really efficiently. And then you're like, what's under this rock? And then
oh no, here be dragons.
So yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, and I think, so I haven't gone through, I feel like I've kind of run somewhat of the gamut. When I started out as an admin, we had 10 licenses because that's what you got with the foundation.
Power of us, yeah.
Yeah. And then we grew all the way up to like 1,500. So I've run, and we didn't go right away. Like it was steps. And so I've been in that 50 to 250 seat area. One thing that I think we probably do, and you work at Salesforce too, we kind of often assume that when we talk to a Salesforce admin or developer or architect, and they're in the smaller business, 50 to 250 seat, that's all they do. Every day they wake up and they pine. What field can I release? What training thing can I do? But I'm going to go out on a limb and say, because you said most of them come in kind of accidentally or through the back door. What are some of the other jobs that you find that they are also responsible for, in addition to sitting in these Salesforce meetings with you?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I mean, I will say for our customers, because they're just a little bit on the larger side of the larger half of our SMB space, that by and large, by the time we get to them, they have transitioned into full-time admins. However, they're coming from sales ops, or they're coming from
They always come from sales ops.
They do.
The sales guys are the ones that care about the CRM. That's why.
It's funny how that works. Sometimes it's actually an AE or someone who was on the sales team. Sometimes it's a business analyst or someone who is coming in from the marketing side or from lead gen. A substantial number of folks who end up as Salesforce admins are coming from office management, receptionist, executive assistant, presumptively non-technical roles. But because of their proximity to the leadership and because their work tends to be a little more bursty and they have fallow time or downtime along with the time that they're extremely busy, and they can do stuff asynchronously. There's a lot of folks who are coming from that sort of front office and front of house role into a Salesforce admin role, which is great because I can't think of another enterprise software environment where it's as easy and as welcoming to get started and get skilled up than Salesforce. So we do have those opportunities for people to change their careers and step in a different direction. I can think of a lot of people who were either not in IT or were in IT, peripheral IT and peripheral technology roles, and Salesforce was their angle and ended up being the transformative thing that brought them into a technology career. So I'd love to see it.
I mean, mine was the same way. I was in charge of inside sales and Salesforce because sales.
Yeah, because those are it. And honestly, if you can be effective as an admin in a part-time way, that's great because it helps you stay closer to the business and helps you stay connected to what's driving value and where the pain points are, where things need work. The thing that I think is interesting for our smaller customers is we don't have, to my mind, enough customers taking advantage of Premier Support, the delegated admin features and the ability to get Salesforce to do stuff for you, take stuff off your plate. I know we're adding a lot of admin AI capabilities as well to speed up the work and make things easier for admins. But, honestly, if you're going to get value out of something that Salesforce can give you, I think that's a good thing to do because what it gives you back is time. It gives you back time to again, spend more time understanding what the business needs.
Yeah. And there's a cost. I mean, I finally sold one of my employers on it, but the ability to, I think at the time it was log a ticket and get a dashboard made. I mean, that was an afternoon back for me. It was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So let's talk. I mean, we also, it's the age of AI. Everybody's got AI. We've got Agentforce. You see the headlines of big companies building their own AI. I promise you, the Napa Auto Parts in, Farmington, Minnesota that uses Salesforce. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just making it up.
Probably now.
Isn't building.
Now it's canonical since you said it on the podcast. Yeah. It's true now.
But I mean, probably isn't sitting down building their own AI model. What do you find are the questions or the gaps that maybe they don't know that they should look for? Or is there a perceived, we're just not big enough, so we're not going to use it?
It's a really interesting question. I mean, I think in general, the thing that we are telling customers, or the thing that customers are coming to understand, is that creating a bespoke AI solution for a particular business, for a particular sector, for a particular whatever, is an enormous lift. It's an enormous lift, and again, that's true today. It may not always be true. It may not be true indefinitely into the future. Probably won't be. But if you are the Napa Auto Parts franchise in Framingham, Massachusetts, and you're saying to yourself, what we really need is a custom Napa Auto Parts AI, the answer is not to build it from an LLM vendor up from that layer, and certainly not to train one again today. But you can get, it always comes down to time to value. You can get 98% of the value of a custom AI solution for your business with Agentforce today, and you get the 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, however long, of advantage of having access to that capability, having access to the tool prior to whatever you build being ready and pressure tested and secure and highly available and supported, and having someone you can call or email or text or chat for help when you need it. It's just it's sort of it's everything about developing bespoke on-premise solutions for your business multiplied by a couple orders of magnitude. Because I don't think anybody, or very, very few businesses today, if you said to them, here's what we think you should do, we think you should start with a database solution, Microsoft SQL or Postgres or whatever, and you should build your own CRM on your own infrastructure with your own code and your own customizations from scratch. If you were to tell a customer, we think this is the best use of your time and resources, most 99% of customers would say, no, why would we do that when when Salesforce exists, when Salesforce is a thing? Similarly for an ERP, like I think that if you go back in time, building your own ERP or constructing your own version of that system from a database and some logic, could be a thing, but then vendors came along that could solve that problem and at the smaller segments of the market. For most business applications today, you would not assume that the right thing to do is to build it yourself, even under pretty extreme conditions. Sometimes, of course, you will, stuff that is a differentiator, that is going to be unique to your business, that is going to offer value that makes you something special compared to your competitors. Yeah, then you might consider building it. You might consider building it on an application, platform as a service, but you might consider building it. That's where we're even further back in the chain right now with AI, because the expertise is thin, because the effort is high, because the risks are very high. So you can do great stuff that's a point solution with commercially available consumer grade AI solutions. If you're trying to integrate it and implement it in the enterprise, it's really, to my mind, only the biggest companies that have the resources and stamina to sort of see this through and actually deliver something that is valuable, actually deliver something that's useful, rather than getting something that works and does what you need it to do now and is driving value for customers now.
Yeah.
Sales pitch over.
I didn't see it as a pitch. It's interesting. I think of Agentforce first as a helper for admins.
Yes.
And listening to your answer, it was all, and Agentforce can be customer facing. I always think of, if I could go back in time when I had 200 licenses and I had 175 questions a day, how would I create an agent that would just offload some of that lift? That I could just give it an FAQ of, the last 6 months of questions that I've been getting, that it could just answer those questions for my internal users. Because, there's probably like 10 heavy question askers, and then everybody else kind of falls in the middle. And hearing you talk through that, I was like, this is so fascinating. I wonder if I'm the only person that thinks of rolling out Agentforce first as an admin assist and then as a customer assist.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I honestly think that the internal use cases for Agentforce are as compelling, if not more compelling, than, well, I don't want to say more compelling than customer-facing stuff, because the customer-facing stuff, the externally facing stuff, when it is aligned and when it is doing something that is a value add, is incredible. And what we see from customers is it's incredible. But it also, because it's interacting with customers and it's representing your brand externally, you have to have you have to pressure test it a little bit. You have to go in and do your validation. We have great testing tools now. The Agentforce Testing Center is fantastic, and it's a lot faster than it used to be. But you have to be reasonably confident that this is going to behave and not create brand risk.
Right.
Internally, you still have that, but it's a little different. The equation is somewhat different, and you can gauge the appetite and the trust of your internal stakeholders for, hey, here's something new that is intended to save you time and effort and aggravation, and we're putting it out there, and we want your feedback, and we want to be able to make it better. And you can do that innovation and that iteration as an admin, in an agile way. I mean, every admin knows who their frontier users are, their bleeding edge people, their cohort of down for anything people are. So you let them hit it. You let them work on it and try it out and see where it breaks. And then you are able to deliver that as an innovation for your organization that much more quickly.
Yeah. I also, maybe this is just me, but, pressure testing your AI, you roll it out and say the 500th customer, it says, you know what? I can't find your order. Can you give me that order number again? And they get mad and they're like, well, your AI doesn't know that. Think of the last time you went to anywhere where there was human interaction. I promise you, I've had to give humans behind a counter an order number more than once. And so you think of which is worse for your brand, an AI saying, hey, I need that order number again, or, some employee that's having a bad day mouthing off to your customer on the other side of the counter.
Yes.
Right. Like we tend to forget, like, well, AI is going to make it. AI can never make a problem, or it can never be wrong. Okay. I get that. But you're also, you got somebody, God willing, $14 an hour on the other side of the counter. What are they going to say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is funny because we said we weren't. We said before the show we weren't going to get into the whole digital labor thing, but we're getting a little.
No, I know we're not, but it is kind of one of those things where it's like you have to give yourself some sort of leeway.
Yeah.
I've used different AIs and it's come back and I was like, but that's not what I asked. and I realized, well, I've also placed orders at restaurants and I was like, but that's not what I asked.
Right. And
humans make the same mistakes.
Humans make the same mistakes, but I think it's funny because there's different failure modes. There's different points where things break down, or the abstraction and the expectations get a little sideways. And with humans, it's fatigue, it's long shift, it's distraction. So it's doing multiple things at once and having thing A override the logical thinking for thing B. And for an agent, it's a different kind of responsiveness and different kind of intelligence. So it's not going to get tired. It's not going to be in a different mood at 4:58 on a Friday afternoon than it is, in the middle of the week. But it is going to have stronger, essentially what you might give a human support agent or a human customer service rep as a boundary, a policy boundary that says you don't talk to customers about whatever, the fact that the X300 has an open warranty. There's warranty extension. Like the only way they find out about that is if they send it in. Don't tell them in advance. And you've set that policy. Like that's the rule. And a human agent who's hearing from the 80th customer who says, I've got an X300 and I don't understand why this red light is blinking, might say, well,
yeah,
you didn't hear it from me, but if you were to send that in for warranty repair, even if it's out of warranty, it would get covered. Like their ability to operate in the liminal space between policy and practicality is what we count on humans to be able to do. Right. That is what we depend on that is what we have learned as a species over millennia, is that interacting with other human beings has gray areas. It has fuzziness. You can, and by the way, we're still not fixed as a species. We're still not like back the way we need to be from 2020 and having every single interaction that we had be through a screen as opposed to in person, because all of our heuristics are built for in-person interaction. So it's like the further you get away from talking to someone face-to-face in person, the more opportunities there are for slippage and stuff to go the wrong direction in that gray zone. Complete tangent. I don't know if anybody saw this last week, but Google's 3D video conferencing project Reach project, I forget what it's called, but Google has these sort of video conferencing booths that are hologram style 3D, like R2D2 holograms. Those are being commercially deployed, and it has already been announced, and I cannot wait, that Salesforce is one of the initial pilot customers for these 3D video conferencing booths. I cannot wait. So we'll do the next podcast in one of those. So
are we talking like Star Wars where you see the person just hologram in?
you are it
or
is
maybe like Marvel. Is it which Marvel movie is that where they're like there's a board of directors that are all holograms?
It's all the Avengers movies, and actually in Endgame, the Avengers themselves sort of hologram into headquarters. But no, it's not like that. It's it is from what I can tell, much more like a prison visit because because there's a pane of glass between you and the person, like it's like you're looking through a pane of glass, but it's like they're in that space beyond the pane of glass.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we'll see it when it arrives at New York and at HQ. But
wow.
But my point, which I wandered away from, is that human beings are perfectly equipped by evolution and by culture and custom to operate in that ambiguity. And admins know this, by the way. Like you are always operating in, well, am I giving them what they asked for, or am I giving them what they want? You have to be able to interpret and adjust on the fly. And an agent isn't going to do that in the same way. And operating in the ambiguity and operating in the gray area is where you're going to learn a lot about what does and doesn't work. So, I've been thinking about this, and I'll probably, maybe for your listeners, have a LinkedIn post on this at some point in the next week or so, about what kind of careers going forward have an AI moat, or have sort of a digital labor, are going to be more partnership with digital labor and less being overrun or overtaken by digital labor. And I do think that Salesforce admin work is one of those categories of career where you are going to be a partner with the AI and not a replacement. Not being replaced by it. I really think because it is that human and technology interface. That's all. It doesn't exactly matter what is happening there, but the fact that there is always going to be a line, there is always going to be a border that has customs agents and couriers and envoys, working across that human intelligence and machine intelligence boundary until and unless that boundary completely disappears, which I don't expect, soon, if ever. There's always going to be work to do. There's always going to be responsibility that accrues at that boundary. And that's what Salesforce admins do. It's like you're working on that boundary. You're working on getting the fuzzy, blurry, maybe not quite explicit human stuff over to the Salesforce side.
It's funny. This brings up a conversation I had with a coworker about admins and AI and, what features Agentforce is coming out with and will admins and developers. Because now there's AIs that write code.
Yeah.
Tons of code. You can, I saw, I forget which one it is. You could give it just a hand drawing of an idea of a website and it'll code it for you. And, some people look at that, oh, well, I'm going to be out of a job. And I think I relate things to various different industries. I remember not so much, but growing up, I grew up in the 80s, and robotics in car manufacturing. That was the age. Like the 70s, it was still kind of, mostly men and women on a production line putting cars together. Brute force. There was some assist tools. But the 80s is really when we started to see the age of robotic welders and robotic painters. And all these people are going to be out of jobs. But if you ever watch the news and they show a production line of cars, there's still hordes of people that show up every day to put cars together. And they're the people that know how to work with the robots. They weren't replaced with the robots. And the discussion that we had was, AI is not going to take your job. The person that's going to take your job is the guy that knows, or the woman that knows how to use AI more effectively than you. It's the admin that sits down and paints the picture for the organization of how Agentforce enhances everything, as opposed to the admin that sits down and doesn't understand how Agentforce can enhance anything.
Yeah. And I think that is I mean, not to send people off, to prompt engineering courses or getting into the weeds in Coursera or someplace like that. But I do think it's worth noting for our admins, like you can spin up, I'm sure this has been mentioned repeatedly and everybody knows this, but you can spin up a developer org with Agentforce and Data Cloud in it today for free. Like you can have that environment. You not to put too fine a point on it. You can also call your account executive or go into Digital Wallet or my account and turn on Salesforce Foundations, which gives you a starter pack for Agentforce and Data Cloud as well, and that's in your org and in your environment. So up to you. Do you want to live dangerously and do it live, or would you rather be in a nice, safe developer org? But the ability to get your hands in there and start working with it is not sort of out in the distance somewhere. It's now.
Right. And that a lot of that is new.
Yeah.
Thankfully. But yes, attainable,
available, attainable, achievable, and continuing to build and change and transform along with the product. And I think, true confessions time, like hop into the confessional booth. It's hard for us, even those of us who are in the pre-sales world, where we're supposed to be, as the solution engineers, we're supposed to be as caught up as possible on what the product is doing and where we're at. And every release, we've got summer release coming out, I think next weekend.
Yeah.
For some chunk, either the first tranche or the second. It's either R0 or R1 coming soon. And I'm looking at this release in a box and thinking, oh my God, there's so much in here. This is crazy. But the thing that caught us up short as an organization was, we were building Agentforce agents in the very manual sort of topic at a time, prompt at a time mode, and saying, well, this takes us a long time to build these demos, and this is very sort of very piecework and a lot of effort to even put together one thing that is representative. And then, sort of unbeknownst to us, the create an agent with AI button showed up in the agent builder in production. This is a real feature that's really working today, where you can, in natural language, share your website, share what you want the agent to do, and just stand back. And Salesforce and Agentforce will create a first approximation of the agent that you describe with appropriate topics, appropriate actions. Granted, it may not be wired up to your configuration, your metadata, and your flows, but it's a pretty reasonable starting point, and all from a website and a prompt.
Right.
And that enables us to do some really interesting things. That enables us to show customers that light bulb moment, and it enables you as admins to go in and show your stakeholders that light bulb moment so much more quickly. Whether you've turned on Foundations and have the starter credits, or whether you're doing it in a dev org, you can do it really, really fast. You can get to something that sort of works the way you want really, really fast. And honestly, that took us by surprise. Like, I did not know that was. I thought that was still beta and still something we weren't ready to talk about, much less show. Nope, there it is in the product. So lesson learned. You gotta. I feel like being an admin is a lot, and being a solution engineer at Salesforce, one thing you have in common is you have to have a best served by date sticker on everything on every piece of knowledge, and every sort of product awareness that you have should have a staleness timer on it. So that once this has been true for X number of years, you go back, you say, I have to check my assumptions here. Is this truly the case? Great example is employee cases, and anybody who deployed platform licenses into their environment and was accessing the case object and had to deal with this concept of employee cases, and considering how, and all, it was a lot of product specific language about that. Well, guess what? A year ago, we got rid of that the product specific language and product specific terms. And now there's just cases. And the only rule is the rule that was sort of there all along, which is if you as a user or as an employee are primarily or even partially servicing customers and working on customer cases, you need to be sitting on Service Cloud. Otherwise, you don't have to care quite as much of, is this an employee case or is it a case, and are they're actually the same object, but we're going to call them different things? No, all that is gone. And so if you were operating with the old knowledge, either as a customer or as an SE, you're going to tell people to do unnecessary work, or you're going to create, a lot of superstructure and a lot of effort that doesn't have to be. And that's the price of not keeping up.
The price of not keeping up. That might be the title of this show.
There we go.
Let's end on an action item.
Yep.
Based on your experience, admins in what we consider small, medium business size, after hearing this podcast, what should they do?
Ooh, what should they do? Well, they should take 3 deep breaths, touch some grass.
Oh no! What if you're in downtown New York?
you're gonna have challenges. I would say, first of all, they should take a moment to remember they're not alone in the sort of the chaotic circumstances, the macro factors and the micro factors that are all sort of conspiring right now to make this a very challenging and a fraught time for a lot of people. So giving yourself that grace and space, which is what my team is focused on right now. Take a little space, give a little grace. And the other action item is to, if you don't have Agentforce and Data Cloud active in your production environment, take a look at Foundations, see if you're comfortable turning it on. Again, remember, that doesn't cost anything to turn on Foundations. And if you don't want to do that or don't feel comfortable doing that, then by all means, please go spin up a developer org for Agentforce. It will not get easier to take the first step. It is never going to be easier than it is today. I don't know if that's true. We're in a local minima for easiness.
It wasn't true yesterday. See?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, every single day, it's not going to get easier than today.
That's correct. Which I think we can look out to a point where it actually is going to get easier, in that this will be on for everyone, and certainly for new orgs and new environments, it'll be on for everyone. So that will make it a zero effort to get access to it. Right now, you still have to effectively opt in, but it will never get easier to decide to do it. And if you decide to go spin up an Agentforce developer org, you then have the ability to share and evangelize and talk confidently to your stakeholders about what Salesforce is doing with Agentforce and AI. And I think that's great. I think that's a really good place to be, starting from a place of knowledge and a place of a little bit more comfort and familiarity is always going to be easier than coming at it from, well, I haven't seen it, but I understand. What I've read about is, you're admins. Don't read about it. Go touch it. Go get your
hands on it. Or I haven't been hands-on with it yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Today's the day.
Yep. No, and you're right. I mean, there are times I'll do the Agentforce Now virtual tour stops, workshops, and I introduce myself and I tell people I've been doing Salesforce since 2006, when I remember the big release was a WYSIWYG page builder, where you could actually just drag the field from a palette onto a canvas and it was there. And I was like, whoa. Anyway.
Those were the days.
Thanks so much for being on.
My pleasure. It's been too long, and I have had too much fun this morning doing this to let it be that long again. So I will be back sooner rather than
okay. I will hold you to that, and we'll because I should have you on before Dreamforce. I'm sure we're going to need to do a Dreamforce prep episode, because you're in the weeds. You're right out there, and you can help. What should we prep for? Between the two of us, we'll know what's going to go on for admins at Dreamforce.
I mean, I'm flattered that you believe that. We'll find out if it turns out to be true. But yes, Dreamforce is going to be amazing this year. So much to talk about, so much that we're going to be able to see. And And honestly, if people haven't been tuning into World Tours and attending or watching, should do that because you're getting what you're getting right now in World Tour in the keynotes and in the sessions is the Dreamforce. It's the run up. It's the Dreamforce preview. And every one of those. And by the way, if you do attend and you do watch the keynotes and you do participate in sessions or the Agentforce activations or anything like that, give feedback. Share it with at the welcome desk. Share it with the surveys that you get, because that actually helps to create a better experience for everybody when we do get to Dreamforce and the big show.
And it's never been easier to learn than today.
It's never been easiher to decide to take the first
tomorrow.
step. Yep. Who knows?
Same way.
It's going to be just more stuff.
Same way.
Just more stuff.
It'll be one more day.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And thanks to your listeners for being such an amazing part of the Salesforce community. We love y'all.
And that's a wrap. Huge thanks to Mike Rose for reminding us that admins are basically the diplomats of digital labor, navigating ambiguity like a pro. If you've ever faced the here be dragons in your org, don't worry, you're not alone. Now, here's some advice from Mike. If you can, go outside, take 3 deep breaths and touch some grass. And then spin up an Agentforce org and test out something. Also, if you get access to the hologram booth, that would be kind of cool. Maybe try that out if you got one lying around. But in any case, make sure to share this episode with fellow Salesforce admin if you found this useful, and give it a rating on iTunes. I would really appreciate that. Until next time, we'll see you in the cloud.